One of the reasons why people love being a Salesforce admin is because, as a Salesforce admin, you get to be a problem solver for your organization. You're the one who gets to find those inefficient, clumsy, manual, time consuming business processes and find ways to use technology, usually it's a Salesforce platform, in order to solve, to streamline and simplify and automate those business processes for everyone on your team, making you look like a superhero. Well, what if I told you that right now in your organization, there are people that are working processes that they frickin' hate, manual, time consuming processes, cutting and pasting information from Salesforce into Microsoft Word, into PowerPoint, into Excel spreadsheets, just to create all kinds of documents like contracts and proposals and forms and release forms to send over to customers and prospects. And those manual time consuming processes are not only riddled with issues and they're costing your company lots of money, they're also costing your company prospects and customers and deals that are getting lost. Because while it's taking a whole lot of time to doing the cutting and pasting and sending it back and forth internally all over the place before sending it out to the customer, those customers or prospects, they decided to go elsewhere. They decided to take another route. Well, what if I told you that I'm going to help you identify those time consuming processes and the costs associated with them so that you can turn this ship around and solve them and streamline them and automate them using Conga Composer? That's what we're talking about in this episode.
Welcome to the Brainiate Show, where we talk about all things Salesforce, sharing the coolest features, solutions, and best practices to turn you into a Salesforce rock star. Here's your host, former attorney turned Salesforce consultant and trainer, David Giller.
If we haven't met before, my name is David Giller, and I want to talk to you about manual document creation. In practically every industry, in practically every organization, regardless of how small or how large, chances are that you are generating some type of cover letters, NDAs, release forms, proposals, contracts, invoices. I can keep going on and on. Some kind of document where your organization has a template document. Usually it's in Word, but it could be in Excel, it could be PowerPoint, it could even be a PDF, where you have some type of document, a template document that was carefully crafted by someone in your organization. Chances are it even had to go through the marketing team or maybe legal and marketing in order to make sure that it's compliant with not only your company's naming conventions and terminology, but it's also compliant with local laws and regulations. And these documents need to be accessed. Usually it's on a shared drive. Sometimes it's getting emailed back and forth all over the place. Sometimes in many organizations, there are many different versions of this document that are going around within the organization. So which version a particular customer or prospect gets really depends on who they're talking to. What a frickin' disaster. So what usually happens when the document needs to get created? If I'm the person in sales and I need to send out, let's say it's even a very simple NDA, what is it that I'm going to do? Well, the typical process, doing it manually, the typical process goes as follows. I'm working on a record in Salesforce. It reaches a certain point where we need to have an NDA in place. So what do? I go into a shared folder. Maybe it's on my local computer. Maybe it's in an email somewhere. And I go and I find a template NDA. Maybe what I even do is I go and I find a previously sent NDA to another customer and I open it up in Microsoft Word. Then I go ahead, one screen I have open in Salesforce, another screen I have open in Word. And now what I'm doing is I'm cutting and pasting the details that I have in Salesforce for that company, for the recipient, whoever it is that's going to sign this document. I go ahead and I copy from Salesforce into that Microsoft Word document. And then I have to go ahead and make sure that the font is okay, that the font size is okay. I need to make sure that there aren't any typos in the document. And then I need to go ahead and save the document. I need to apply an appropriate naming convention. And then I need to figure out where on earth am I actually going to save it. Sometimes you also need to turn it into a PDF. Sometimes you're not only emailing it out to them for them to print out and sign by hand and send back. Sometimes you want to send it out through a tool like DocuSign where you want it digitally signed. Well, just doing a simple document like that in the way that I just described could take a very long time because as a sales rep, I might be dialing for dollars. So after I'm done with one phone call, I'm moving on to the next phone call. I don't have time to start cutting and pasting and finding the appropriate document and which version of the NDA should I be using in order to actually send it over to the particular prospect that I'm working with. That is taking a whole lot of time. That is causing a whole lot of frustration for me as the sales rep. It's also causing frustration for the prospect who can't move forward in even having a discussion on this particular deal until the NDA is in place. So the prospect is sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And guess what? At a certain point, if they don't hear from you, they're just going to move on. Chances are that 5 minutes after they spoke to your sales rep, that they're calling a different sales rep at a different company in order to see who can move faster because I've got this problem that needs to be solved. I need to order my case of widgets. Now, that was just for an example of an NDA. Just imagine if we're actually talking about a proposal or a contract or an invoice where I'm not only working with the account record and the contact record in Salesforce, but now I'm also talking about the opportunity record, the opportunity products, and the pricing and any pricing discounts. And maybe there are multiple contacts that need to get sent this particular proposal or contract. It could be a total disaster. This could take weeks to complete any document in order to send out to any customer or prospect. Now, if you're not feeling the pain already, let me make it abundantly clear. This manual process that I just described is incredibly common. This is typically the default process that most companies have in most industries for putting together, whether it's the simplest document or the most complex document that you might have for any particular deal that you might be working on. What are some of the issues that come up in the scenario that I just described? Well, first of all, it is very time consuming. It is time consuming for the people on your team. It is time consuming for the customer or prospect who's sitting around waiting to get this document in order to move forward. Next, this type of a process is riddled with inaccuracies. The chances that someone can get something wrong, typing someone's name incorrectly, putting the wrong font, using the wrong version of the document, putting the wrong address, putting the wrong phone number, using the wrong email address, forgetting to include specific people. I can keep going on and on. There are many different ways that inaccuracies can creep in to this type of a manual time-consuming process. Issue number 3, this manual process that we're talking about, it's completely unreliable. Because what happens when someone goes ahead and updates Salesforce after you've already looked at Salesforce to cut and paste the information into the document? 5 minutes later, 5 days later, someone goes into Salesforce in order to fix a typo in someone's name, in order to put the appropriate job title, in order to put the appropriate spelling of the company name. And in the meantime, this document is still circulating around within your organization because it's going from the sales rep to the manager, or from the sales rep to legal, from the sales rep to marketing, whoever it is that needs to get approval on it, whoever it is that needs to review it before it actually goes out. And in the meantime, it could be the contact, it could be the account, it could be the opportunity, it could be the opportunity products, it could be discounts. Any of those things could be changing in Salesforce, and the burden is left on someone within the organization to now go ahead and update that document that's floating around in draft mode within your organization in order to make sure that it is up to date. So the chances of having inaccuracies by doing this manual cutting and pasting are pretty high. Issue number 4, doing that manual process that I just described is incredibly difficult to format. When you're cutting and pasting from Salesforce into Microsoft Word or a Google Doc or Excel or PowerPoint, I can pretty much guarantee that the font is not going to be the same. The font color, the font size, it's not going to be the same. So what is it that you need to do? Well, guess what? That means that after cutting and pasting, you then need to go ahead and reformat whatever you pasted into the document in order to make sure that it looks the way that it's supposed to. Now, also keep in mind when you're cutting and pasting, you could also mess up the whole alignment of everything else that's appearing on that page. What a disaster. Issue number 5, the process that I just described. Maybe it's manageable for a sales rep who doesn't have a whole lot of deals that they're working on. But if you're a successful sales rep, you're freaking drowning in all of this manual, time-consuming, paper-filled work. Who needs that? It is not scalable. Issue number 6, which is the opportunity cost. The time that it takes of not only the sales rep, but everyone who needs to touch that document, to do the cutting and pasting, to do the formatting, to review it, to confirm that everything is good before we can go ahead and send it over to the customer. All of that wasted time that could be utilized for other more productive activities, that is the opportunity cost. So if I were a sales rep and I was drowning in this type of manual, painful, time-consuming cutting and pasting, give me a freaking break. I'd tell you straight out, I'd rather be dialing for dollars. I'd rather be closing more deals. I'd rather be talking to more prospects. So there are huge opportunity costs of all of the deals that we cannot bring in because we're busy doing all of this nonsensical, time-consuming cutting and pasting between Salesforce and Microsoft Word. What a disaster. Now, prior to my having laid out all of these painful aspects associated with the manual process, chances are that neither you nor anyone else in the organization really cared a whole lot about this process. Everyone sort of assumed, yeah, whatever, this is what we just have to do. This is how it has to be. And I am here to tell you, no, it does not have to be that way. One of the reasons why I am so enthusiastic on this particular topic is because I personally have used Conga Composer not only for myself, for my own Salesforce instance, but I have also configured Conga Composer for many of my clients in a variety of industries. So I know how incredibly empowering it is to roll out functionality like Conga Composer to end users who are otherwise drowning in these painful, time-consuming manual processes, and showing them how not only do they just have to click a single button in order to see all of the appropriate templates that they have available to them, regardless of the format, in order to choose them and then go ahead and merge those documents, convert them if appropriate from whatever format into a PDF, to also save it in Salesforce and also create an outbound email with a template subject line and body in the email itself, and the PDF automatically gets attached. And you can also have Conga Composer, again within the same one button, also create the follow-up task for X number of days later for whoever it is that's appropriate to go ahead and follow up on this outbound email that just went out with that document to make sure that we've heard back from them. So I know what it's like to roll out that functionality to end users and how transformative this becomes for everyone within the organization, especially the customers and prospects, who are impressed how within a couple of minutes after ending a phone call, suddenly they've got that proposal or contract sitting in their inbox. Now, by the way, I described how you can do this using a single button with Conga Composer directly in Salesforce on any custom or standard object. But just imagine if you had a standard process where, let's say, every single time you have a lead that reaches a certain lead status or an opportunity that reaches a certain stage, if certain criteria exist, then automatically, always, a particular document should always get created, merging in the data that's in Salesforce into the document. It should automatically, whether it goes out as a Microsoft Word document or as a PDF, automatically go out to the appropriate person, meaning on the opportunity, it might be the primary contact. On the lead, it would be the lead themselves. So you could even have it without the user clicking on any button whatsoever. So just imagine as an end user, you're in Salesforce. You update the lead status. So long as whatever the critical criteria are, automatically the document is getting created and going out, and the attachment is in Salesforce, and the follow-up task is instantly in Salesforce. nobody had to do anything in order to manually create that document, not even a single click. I am not talking about science fiction here. The functionality that I'm talking about is transformative. It will change the way everyone thinks of Salesforce. It will change the way everyone uses Salesforce. It will change the way your company thinks about proposals and contracts and release forms and NDAs and all those other kinds of documents. And it's going to change the way your customers and prospects think of your organization. I can also pretty much promise you that your team in legal, who is otherwise sitting and biting their nails, worried that some of your colleagues might be sending out documents that don't comply with whatever rules they have, your team in legal, they're going to be doing the happy dance here because Conga Composer is only going to have all of those template corporate documents that you as the Salesforce admin set up for them. Your end users won't be able to create their own templates if you don't want them to. By the way, that means that if some of your colleagues have system admin access and they shouldn't, now might be a good time to take that away. So if you think that your team just might be ready to start embracing technology to work smarter, not harder, and stop this nonsense of cutting and pasting from Salesforce into Microsoft Word, I encourage you to check out this blog article that I recently created called The Hidden Cost of Creating Documents Manually from Salesforce. This article will help you quantify all of the nonsensical, painful, redundant, time-consuming aspects associated with the manual document creation process that your company is likely struggling with, and how Conga Composer can help take your organization to the next level and start introducing some simplicity, some automation, some consistency, some additional professionalism to the entire team and start impressing your customers and prospects while saving everyone a whole lot of time in the process. I'll put the link for this article in the show notes or in the description below. That's it for now. If you have any questions, drop me a note and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.